Wrangler assists in the migration of an on-premise UCM deployment to the Cisco cloud. It supports multiple migration scenarios, single window or phased, one-to-one cluster migration, many-to-one cluster consolidation. During the migration process, it automatically validates imported data against business rules, highlighting any anomalies and issues encountered, providing links to objects that require correction, including reporting and bulk change capabilities. Once the validation process is complete, it prepares and automatically pushes validated configuration data into the target system. The benefits of using Wrangler for migration include single pane of glass for UCM plus UCXN migration, data validation and correction prior to load, supports phased migrations and consolidations of clusters, bulk tools, allowing for bulk change of data. So how does it work? Let's do a demo. Let's start with creating the Wrangler migration. Then you'll see the interface bind to server and entry of source IP and credentials. Select server to bind interface to, then select bind to ARM button. Select update or set credentials button. Enter IP address and credentials of source interface. Select use for all interfaces, then select submit. Select test connection button to test connection to CUCM. Mouse pointer is placed on blue bar to refresh the interface. Then repeat the previous step for target interface. Now let's take a look at the migration process. Select Wrangler UCMC app from Application Switcher. Select plus New Customer Migration button. Select source and target cluster interfaces. Name the migration in target customer name box. Select countries included in the migration from Initial Countries box drop-down. Then select Clone Dial Plan Migration Type from Dial Plan Configuration drop-down. Start the migration by selecting the Save Migration and Start Discovery button. Here you can see some discovery items, allocation events and validation events. Then the screen will show you the validation issues and site suggestions page. Select Site Suggestions button. Select Create Site buttons as required to create sites for the migration. Then select the Warnings tab. The issues flagged here are warnings only and may be ignored by selecting the Disable Rule and Clear Issue button adjacent to each item highlighted if no action is required. Select the Issues and Resolutions tab, which will display issues that need attention before progressing and any mapping that must be performed. Resolve the flagged issues and mappings by selecting the appropriate button to resolve. Mappings may be resolved by either selecting the blue button adjacent to each item and follow actions from there, or go to Menu Item Target Mappings and map each item highlighted in yellow. Map each of the source objects to target as required. Now select Issues button from menu, then select the Reallocate yellow button. The allocation step will proceed, followed by Validation Events. If there are any remaining issues to resolve before progressing, select the Issues and Resolutions tab. The remaining issue flagged that there are 6 device pools that are not allocated to a site. We will resolve this by allocating the device pools to a site by using bulk change. Note that if it is known that there are no devices dependent on these device pools, the Disable Rule and Clear Issue button may be used instead. For bulk change, select Bulk Change from menu. Select the plus Create Bulk Change button. Select Filter relevant to objects to bulk change, in this instance, device pool. Select Cluster, then add filter as required to select the required objects. In this instance, we select Filter Conditions Change Site ID plus Value Null, as the device pools we are interested to change have not been allocated to site and therefore have no change site ID defined. Select Search and Find Objects. The device pools not allocated to a site will be displayed. Select Next button. Set the required site from Allocated Site box and then select Change At To during site load, as this is the stage where all site objects are migrated. Select Review Bulk Changes followed by Apply Bulk Changes. Now select Issues from menu. Select Revalidate Migration button. And you'll see the validation events. If there are no more validation issues encountered, progress to Prepare Sites. Select Sites from menu. Select sites to be migrated from the Select column. If there are many to select, the Bulk Select button can be used. Select Ready from menu, again select Revalidate Migration. And you'll see the validation events. Then you can see the validation issues on the screen. Select the Issues and Resolutions tab to review any validation issues. Resolve any issues remaining by selecting the appropriate button. In this instance, it highlighted that there are 3 EM profiles that are not allocated to a site. Select the blue button to view the EMs in question. Select Link to the detailed object view for each of the EM profiles. In the object detailed view for each of the EM profiles, allocate them to a site as required, plus alter change at site to during site load, then save changes. Revalidate migration. And you'll see the validation events. If there are no more validation issues to resolve, the screen will show the migration pre-prepare step. Select the Preview Prepare button. Select the Start Migration button. Objects will now be cloned in readiness for load site. Now that the clone process is complete, you can move to the preload phase. Select Continue Migration button, revalidate migration, and you'll see the validation events. Then, the final sequencing validation issues prior to load are displayed. Select Issues and Resolutions button. Resolve sequencing issues by selecting relevant blue button to move dependencies to the change stage as required. Any site-relevant objects should be moved to during site load, any customer-level objects to before any site's loaded. Other items flagged include Jabber devices with incorrect number of calls. Resolve by selecting Resolve with Bulk Change blue button, which will automatically resolve all these objects. No primary line on device solved by selecting the blue Bulk Remove Primary Line button. Self-referencing phones solved by selecting blue View Self-Reference X Phone button, followed by selecting Bulk Remove Self-Reference from Phone. Phone with pending certificate operation solved by selecting blue button, set to No Pending Operation. Again, revalidate migration. And you'll see the validation events. If there are any remaining sequencing issues displayed, select Issues and Resolutions button. Any remaining sequencing issues are resolved by selecting relevant blue button to move object in question to the correct change step. Again, revalidate migration. And if there are no further sequencing issues encountered, move to the load step. Select Preview Load button. Select Start Migration button to initiate load of objects into target cluster. You'll see a load of target clusters. And finally, upon completion of the load, select Events tab, then Errors box to view details of any errors that may have been encountered during the load sequence. If required, correct errors, then select Restart Execution Process until all clear, or if no correction is required, change complete. And that's it!